Hello guys, good morning. You are welcome to my YouTube channel, the Explicit Tutorials. As you all know, my name is Dr. Joseph. Please, as you are watching this video, endeavor to subscribe, like, share, and comment. It is very, very important. Alright. And secondly, I want to say a very big thank you to those who have been supporting me in this teaching stuff. And please, I also urge you forward the link to your friends so that they can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, and the videos will help them very well. Okay, so today we're discussing biology, a topic called cell. Now, if you are told that cell means a place where prisoners are kept, you wouldn't say that person was wrong. No, you wouldn't, because the cell, all right, we have cell. One means the building blocks, all right, the building blocks of a living thing, all right, while the other cell means a place where prisoners are kept. But in biology, if I should put it as a place where prisoners are kept, it means that we have to visit what the psychiatric hospital. And yes, it means that I'm not normal. Okay, that's what it means. I'm not normal. A normal biologist wouldn't say that cell is a place where prisoners are kept in the world of science. You have to buy the psychiatric word form. It's very, very important. Okay, so let's get started. What is the cell? The cell. What do you know? Just as we say that the basic units of matter is atom, alright, which means that the building block of every matter is called what? Atom. Then I will also say that the building blocks of every living thing is what? Cell. The building blocks of living things are called what? Cells. But that is not the broad definition of what a cell is. In a nutshell, the cell is the smallest basic, look at the word, the cell is the smallest basic unit of life. All right, it is also the basic structural and it is also the basic structural and functional unit of life. That is what the cell is. But on a broad note, the cell can be defined as the basic structural and functional unit of what? Protoplasm. Protoplasm, which is made up of nucleus and cyto and cytoplasmic materials. The cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Fine, very important. You can also say that it is the basic structural and functional unit of what? The protoplasm, which is made up of nucleus and what? Cytoplasmic materials. It therefore connotes that nucleus plus cytoplasm will give rise to what? Protoplasm. The living content of the cell is called which of these? Jambite, Y excellent, any exam candidate. The living content of the cell is called which of these? A. Nucleus, B. Protoplasm, C. Cytoplasm, D. Endoplasmic reticulum. Please, excuse me. Protoplasm is known as the living content of the cell. Protoplasm was formerly called sarcode by Felix Dujardin. All right, protoplasm was formerly called sarcode by Felix Dujardin. That is what the cell is. Now, I said that this protoplasm has the nucleus and what? Cytoplasmic materials. Now, these materials are collectively called what? Organelles. Organelles. And these organelles are suspended inside a fluid in the cytoplasm called cytosol. So cytosol is that fluid found in the cytoplasm where these organelles are found suspended. That is what the meaning of cell. It is the basic structural and functions of life of living things, or it is the basic structural and functional unit of what? The protoplasm, which is made of what? Nucleus and cytoplasmic materials. These materials are collectively called organelles. What are examples of organelles? We have the Golgi bodies, we have the centrioles, we have the ribosome, the lysosome, the mitochondria, and so on and so forth. Now, we've known the meaning of cell. All right, the next step to take is the history of the cell. Who were the different scientists that's really discussed the cell, or that brought the cell into existence, or that made the cell to be known by people. Now, number one, in year 1665, Robert Hooke was the first to discover the cell in year 1665. In year 1665, Robert Hooke was the first scientist to have discovered the cell. Therefore, he's known as the father of the cell. Which of these scientists is known as the father of the cell? It is called Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke is known as the father of the cell. Now, the father of genetics is what? Gregor Mendel. The father of microscope is Anthony von Leeuwenhoek. The father of microscope is what? Anthony von Leeuwenhoek. The father of genetics is Gregor Mendel. The father of cell is what? Robert Hooke. That is the first one. The secondly, in year 1835, all right, a German biologist called Felix Dujardin, in 1835 stated that all living things were made up of cell. He said that all living things were made up of cell. And secondly, he subjected the cell under a microscope. After the subjection, he discovered that the cell were made up of living contents. Alright, he noticed that the cell was made up of living content. This living content is called sarcode. I told you something. I said protoplasm means what? The living content of the cell, and it was formerly called sarcode by Felix Dujardin. Now, Purkinje was the first person to call the sarcode protoplasm. All right, protoplasm. Purkinje was the first person to call the sarcode protoplasm, which is known as what? The living content of the cell. Now, number three, in year 1838, a German botanist or a German botanist called Matthias Skleden discovered that all plants were made up of cell. Of course, the study of plants is called what? Botany. A person who studies botany is called a botanist. So he was a German botanist. Stated that all plants were made up of cell in year 1835. Then number four, in year 1839, all right, Theodor Schwann, he was actually a German zoologist. He said that all animals were made up of cell. The study of animals is called what? Zoology. So in year 1839, Theodor Schwann said that all animals were made up of cell. Please take notes. NB. The study of Matthias Skleden and Theodor Schwann led to the postulation of the cell theory in year 1839. The discovery of Matthias Skleden and Theodor Schwann led to the postulation of the cell theory in year 1839. Please take note of that. Then the fifth person, in year 1855, Rudolf von Virchow stated that the cells come from pre-existing cell. So these are the scientists that brought about the history of what? The cell. Hope it's recording. Excuse me, please. Yes, it is. So these were scientists that brought about the history of the cell. Take note of that. Now, I said that the discovery of Matthias and Theodor Schwann led to the postulation of the cell theory in what year? 1839. So the next topic is what? The cell theory. There are 5 cell theories. 5. 5. So as a YX student, it is very important to note them. All right. List the cell theory. Number 1. All right. It is the basic structural and functional unit of life. It is a basic structural and what? Functional unit of life. 2. All living things, all right, are made up of cell. All living things are made up of what? Cells. Number 3, apart from the life of cell, apart from the life of cell or man, there is no other life. Apart from the life of cell, there is no other life. There is no other life. Apart from the life of cell, there is no other life. Number 4, the cell come from pre-existing cell. All right, which means that the cell now emanated from the ones that existed before. Pre means what? Before. The cell comes from pre-existing what? Cell. Number 5, some organisms, all right, may have one cell, and these are called what? Unicellular organisms. All right, some organisms may have one cell, and these are called what? Unicellular organisms. E.g., amoeba proteus now have paramecium caudatum. You have the euglena. You have chlamydomonas. All of these are what? Unicellular organisms. And while others may have more than may have two, let me use 2 or more, yeah. While others may have 2 or more cells, and these are called what? Multicellular organisms. All right, what are examples of organisms that are multicellular? All right, Spirogyra is multicellular. All right, Hydra is multicellular. Then of course, you know, we have 5 kingdoms: kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae, and kingdom Animalia. Now the first kingdom, which you have it to be Monera, they are actually prokaryotes. All right, do not have a well-defined nucleus. All right, which means that their chromosomes are scattered in their cytoplasm. Please, the chromosome of viruses, bacteria, are scattered in their cytoplasm because they don't have a well-defined nucleus. They're from kingdom Protista down to kingdom Animalia. They are all eukaryotic. In case you are asked, list the types of cells. Do not say plants and animal cells. No. Do not say white and red blood cells. No. The 2 types of cells are prokaryotic cells and what? Eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic, they lack well-defined nucleus. Then the eukaryotic, they have what? Well-defined nucleus. Okay, take note of that. Well, I said Spirogyra, Hydra, man, dog, whatever. All of these are what? Multicellular organisms. So these are the cell theory. It is very important you commit them to memory. It is very, very what? Important. So the next one is going to be forms in which the cell exists. All right, what are the various forms the cell exists? Please, Jamb, take note. YX students, exam candidates, take note. What are the forms in which the cell exists. Forms in which the cell exists. Forms. Forms the cell exists. Forms in which the cell exists. One, as a colony. Now, the word as a colony, all right, it means the process whereby similar cells are joined together to form a mass cells, all right. It is a process whereby similar cells are masked, and these cells, they are what? Differentiated. They are what? Differentiated. That is to say that they are dependent on themselves, which means that the cells that make up a colony, they are dependent on themselves, all right? What are examples of colonial organisms? Yes, your attention is highly required in this part. Which of the following pairs are colonial organisms? Examples of colonial organisms are Volvox. Volvox is colonial organism. Udorina is a colonial organism. Pandorina is also what? A colonial organisms. All of these are what? Colonial organisms. Take note of that. It is very important. Now, if I have it like this, let me just make a sketch, a small sketch, and have let me do something. I'm trying to. Now, what I've just illustrated, this is the structure of a volvox. Now, this thread-like structure, all right, you call them what? Flagella. All right. Now, this line that joins these similar cells together, all right, you call them cytoplasmic strands. All right, these are what? Cytoplasmic strands. So what I have here is what? A volvox. In case you are asked, maybe they'll denote here as X and here as Y. Which of these parts, okay, which of the part labeled is, do you have the flagella or flagellum? It is what? These thread-like structures, they are called what? The flagella. So all of these are what? Colonial organisms. All right. Now, number 2 form is as a filament. As a filament. As a filament. Now, filamentous organisms are organisms whose cells are joined together by intermolecular what? Force. There's this interconnection between the cells, the cells found in the filamentous what? Organisms. I said that the cells in colonial organisms, they are joined together and they are what? Dependent on each other. They are dependent on what? Each other, and they cannot be what? Differentiated. But the cells in filamentous organisms, they are what? They are undifferentiated, and they are what? Independent. They are what? Independent. So the word here you have as a colony or as a colonial organism, the cells are what? Dependent on each other. But as a filamentous organism, the cells are what? Independent physiologically. Now, what are examples of filamentous organism? What are examples of filamentous organisms? You have Spirogyra. Spirogyra is a filamentous organism. All right. You have Zygnema. Zygnema is a filamentous organism. You have Ulothrix. Ulothrix is a filamentous organism. Uh, Oscillateria is a filamentous organism. Or Cladophora is a filamentous organism. Which one again? Udogonium is a filamentous organism. So Spirogyra, Ulothrix, Zygnema, Oscillateria, Cladophora, and what? Udogonium. All of these are filamentous organisms. So please take note of that. It is very, very important. Okay, let me give you a short illustration of the structure of a Spirogyra. Now, how does a Spirogyra looks like? If I have like this, I'll have just make it very short. Oh God, why is it going up? I have to look like this. So what I'm doing, I'm giving us a short or a sketch of how Spirogyra looks like. So even if it's not as beautiful as you want it to be, just manage it. All right. So as a Jambite, it is very good to take note of this part. All right. Okay, so what I have here is the structure of a Spirogyra. All right. So this structure here represents a Spirogyra. Good. So this outer wall, of course, is called what? The cell wall. The outer wall is called what? The cell wall. And here it's called what? You have parinoid. Parinoid. Okay. And here, this very part, we call it chloroplast. All right. Then this ball-like structure inside of it, we call it what? Nucleus. Nucleus. Then these structures, these ones, all right, we call them cytoplasmic strand. So this is the structure of what? A spirogyra. Chloroplast, where there's what? Synthesis of food, or where photosynthesis occurs. You have the nucleus, you have the cytoplasmic strands, and you have what? Parinoid. So this is the structure of what? A spirogyra. So take note of that. It is very, very important. Now, this one is under as a filament, right? So number 3 is, so I'll rub it off. Number 3, what is the third form in which the cell can exist? What is the third form in which the cell can exist? 3, as an independent or single and free living things. All right, as okay, let me remove this one. As independent or single and free living things. What does that mean? It means that these organisms, they have just what? Single cell. The fact that they have single cell does not mean that they cannot survive. Now, they are single, they are what? Non-parasitic, they are free living, they don't cause harm to anybody. Now, even, okay, the fact that they have single cell does not mean that they cannot perform most life processes. All right, what are examples of these independent or single and free living things? All right, the amoeba is free living. All right, paramecium is free living. Euglena is free living. Chlamydomonas is free living. All of these are free living and they have single cell. They are what? Unicellular organisms. Please, the parasitic form of protozoans, all right? The parasitic forms of protozoans, you say it is what? Plasmodium. Plasmodium is parasitic. Trypanosome is also parasitic. These are the parasitic form of protozoans, while amoeba, paramecium are free living forms of what? Protozoans. Now, plasmodium, which is a pathogen that causes what? Malaria, and the vector is what? The female Anopheles mosquito. All right. Now, trypanosome is a pathogen that causes what? Sleepy sickness, and the vector is what? Fly. Okay, and okay, yes, that is what you have it to be. And again, onchocercia is also parasitic. All right, the vector is black fly, called Simulium what species. It is this black fly, it is this onchocercia which is a pathogen. Onchocercia is a pathogen, the black fly is the vector. Vector is a carrier of what? Disease causing organism. The vector carries the pathogen that causes what? The disease. Now, this onchocercia causes what is called onchocerciasis, otherwise called what? River blindness. Now, river blindness does not mean that the river is blind, or maybe the water has been contaminated. No. River blindness is a disease that has to do with the eye. All right. When the cells that make up the retina are invaded by this pathogen, it can result in what? Blindness, and that's we have it to be called what? River blindness. Please take note of that. Now, let me lay more emphasis on amoeba, paramecium, euglena, chlamydomonas. Please, amoeba, the major waste of amoeba is ammonia. The major waste of amoeba is what? Ammonia. And it locomotes with the use of what? The pseudopodia. It locomotes with the use of what? Pseudopodia. And all of these organisms, they have what is called contractile vacuole. They have contractile vacuole for osmoregulation. They have contractile vacuole for osmoregulation. And paramecium, okay, I'm not done with the movements that the amoeba undergoes or exhibits is called what? Amoeboid movement. The type of movement in which the amoeba undergoes is called what? Amoeboid movement. The amoeba reproduces through what? Binary fission. The amoeba reproduces through what? Binary fission. Take note of that. It is very important. Another name for the cell membrane is called what? Plasma lemma. Plasma lemma. Take note of that. It is very, very important. And now, paramecium locomotes with the use of what? Cilia. The paramecium locomotes with the use of cilia, and the structure that gives the cilia its definite slipper shape is called what? Pellicle. Jambite. YX student, take note. Paramecium locomotes with the use of cilia. Its shape is slipper, and that is as a result of what? The presence of what? Pellicle. Now, paramecium is able to withstand harsh environmental condition because of the presence of what? Pellicle. Pellicle is what makes the paramecium to withstand harsh environmental what? Condition. I said these organisms, they have what is common, which is what? Contractile vacuole or what? Osmoregulation. Now, Euglena has flagella for locomotion. Please, Euglena stores carbohydrate as what? Don't say that. Do not say starch. Don't even your dream. Don't try that. Euglena stores carbohydrate as paramylon. Euglena stores carbohydrate as what? Paramylon. In our previous class, it was that a fungus stores uh, starch as what? Glycogen. Okay, glycogen. Then Euglena stores carbohydrate as what? Paramylon. But Chlamydomonas stores carbohydrate as laminarin. Laminarin, all right, not starch, Paramylon is to Euglena, and laminarin is to what? Chlamydomonas. Please take note of that. Which one again? Please. Okay, let me make a quick sketch of these organisms. Very, very fast, very fast, very fast. Let me be fast about it. I have something like this. Like this. So what I have here is what? The amoeba. Of course, this is a pseudopodia. Pseudopodia means what? First fruits. And here, the outer part of this organism is called the ectoplasm. And the inside of case is what? Endoplasm. And of course, this is what? The nucleus. And okay, you have the contractile vacuole, and here you have, oh god, this place you have it to be plasma lemma. All right, plasma lemma. So this is the structure of the amoeba. It uses pseudopodia for what? Locomotion. That is amoeba. All right, I have this structure is looking like looking like a pregnant woman. Please take note of this diagram. It's very important to take notes. In case you are asked to indicate the various parts of this diagram, it is very important you do what I'm doing now. You memorize diagram offhand. Very, very important. So what I have here is what the paramecium. Now this part that look like fan, this ones, you call this one anterior contractile vacuole. All right, that is contractile vacuole. This is the anterior. This anterior end is actually blunt, and this part is called the posterior contractile vacuole, and this point is called the posterior region, and it is actually what sharp because it is what pointed. Now you have these small parts is called what? The micronucleus. Micronucleus is involved in reproduction. Then the meganucleus, this is the meganucleus. Meganucleus is meant for other activities apart from what? Reproduction. So this very part is called it's called food vacuole. Food vacuole. Now this part that gives it its slipper shape, you can see it looks like slipper. It's called what? Pellicle. Pellicle. All right. So this thread-like structure, these structures, all right, is you call it what? Cilia. Cilia. I told you that cilia are meant for what? Cilium is singular. Cilia is what? Plural. So cilia are used for what? Locomotion. All right. And of course you have the cytostome. Okay, no, there's a gullet. All right, and here you have the mouth. The mouth, otherwise called what? Cytostome. Then around this region there is an opening. Around this region there's an opening called anapore. Anapore. Anapore is the region where it's carries out egestion, which means that is, look at the word here, egestion. That is the removal of what? Undigested food particles. Where is contractile vacuole? Anterior contractile vacuole for what? Osmoregulation. Posterior also meant for osmoregulation. Anapore for digestion. Micronucleus for reproduction. Mega for other activities. Pellicle, which gives it what? Slipper definite what? Shape. Take note of that. So these organisms, you have amoeba and you have what? Paramecium. And again, let me give us the diagram of the euglena. These are diagrams or organisms you don't joke with. All right, I have like this. My diagram is not too fine, but please manage it for me. So this is the structure of the euglena. This part is actually the flagella. All right, this place is called the eye spots, and here is the contractile vacuole. All right, and this part is called the pellicle. Then you have somehow double wall. All right, you have the ectoplasm. ecto, you know it's outside, right? Ectoplasm, and we have what? The endoplasm. Mhm. So these structures here, these ones, they actually bear starch paramylum. I think that Euglena stores carbohydrate as what? Paramylum. Now this part that all these fan-like structures, that is where you have the chloroplasts. Oh god. Chloroplasts. Chloroplast, okay? Now, which means that Euglena and Chlamydomonas are dual organisms because they are both autotrophic and what? Heterotrophic. As autotrophic, the makers of the chloroplast for photosynthesis, okay? Now, what are the features that make these organisms animal-like? It has eye spots for what? Sensitivity. It has flagella for what? Locomotion. And which one again? I think that is for that. Flagella for locomotion, eye spot for what? Sensitivity. So yes, that is what you have it to be. That is what you have it to be. So your own assignment is to draw and label chlamydomonas. Your assignment is to draw and label what? Chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas is even easier than these ones I've drawn already. It is easier. All right, so take note of that. Take note of that. So I'll rub off what I have here. So please, I'll ask you, which of the following organism is under tissue level of organization? Which of the following organism is under tissue level of organization? They'll give you A, amoeba, B, paramecium, C, euglena, D, hydra. Please, hydra is under what? Tissue level as what? Organization. Now, in our previous class, I told us a lot of things concerning hydra. I told that hydra is a Nigerian or a coelenterate. That is, it belongs to phylum Coelenterata. It uses tentacle for movements and also for what? Feeding. On the tentacles, you have stingy cells which are meant to what? Catch their prey. These stingy cells are called what? Nematocysts. Nematocysts are found in the epidermis and tentacles, but they are abundantly distributed in the tentacles. All right, I think that hydra undergoes both intracellular what? Extracellular digestion. In the intracellular digestion, it occurs in the endodermis. Endodermis, that is when you have intracellular digestion. But in the enteron, you have what? Extracellular digestion. Of course, you don't need an oracle to tell you that hydra is a monoecious organism, or you say it is what? Hermaphroditic. It has both the testes. The testes are just found anteriorly, while the ovary is found posteriorly. Take note of that. At this point, we call it a day. In my next class, we are going to be treating the various organelles that are found in plants and animal cells and their functions. What is the function of the mitochondria, ribosomes, the lysosome, the rough and smooth, and the plasmaculum, the meristem, the centrioles, the Golgi bodies, the starch granules, the nucleus, the chromosomes, the genes. What are they meant for, or what are the roles that they play? So in the next class, we shall be dissecting all these organelles and their functions, and of course I'll give us a diagram of the plant and animal. So thanks for watching. Do have a wonderful day. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel.